Lance under center. Straight out look, play action, looks out in the flat, has Zach Thompson open, caught. He turns up at the 10 here to the near pylon. Touchdown, Marshall!
That was the
I wouldn't change anything about how everything's turned out, Lance said. That chip on my shoulder is one of the reasons I am where I am today. Trey Lance. 2/3 of the way through the 2020 NFL season, some teams have identified that they will need to select a quarterback in the 2021 NFL draft. Couple teams that come to mind, the New York Jets. I'm sorry, Sam Darnold, but seems like they're done ruining your future. They might want to move on from you. But on top of that, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots should they decide to move on from Cam Newton. So with that being said, it is our duty to cover what could potentially be a very, very special 2021 NFL draft quarterback class, starting with probably the biggest and most unknown target in the entire NFL draft. Because at this point, everyone's viewing the 2021 NFL draft as the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, with Justin Fields being the reclamation prize. And many people are accusing the New York Jets to be purposely tanking at this point in order to select Clemson Heisman top runner and comfortably able to throw 5 touchdowns in the first half quarterback Trevor Lawrence as their #1 pick. However, there will still be teams that will need a new quarterback. I'm looking at you, Chicago Bears fans, and possibly need to use their first pick to fill the most vital part of their offense. Let's mention another first-round quarterback draft prospect, a little-known gunslinger by the name of Trey Lance. I know you're probably saying Trey who, as his name is not announced by Lee Corso or mentioned by Kirk Herbstreit on many Saturdays this fall. As a matter of fact, he's only played in 1 game this 2020 collegiate season, his redshirt sophomore year. But it's not his fault at all, just an effect of a little global pandemic putting a hold on his conference's season. Trey Lance is the starting quarterback for the North Dakota State Bison. North Dakota State is not part of the BCS, but have historically run the table in the NCAA Division I football championship subdivision. There is one other former North Dakota State quarterback by the name of Carson Wentz, a former #2 overall pick that is currently the face of the Philadelphia Eagles. So historically, the Bison are no slouch of a team when it comes to developing very good draft prospects. However, the question is what makes Trey Lance so special that people are placing him towards the top of draft boards even after limited minutes and wondering if he could be the unsung hero for an NFL team that desperately needs some hope under center. Well, in this video, we're hoping to uncover all of that. Before we jump into this analysis, make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help this channel make the push to 300,000 subscribers. And if you want to further support the channel, we recently released channel memberships. If you want to help support us further, all the money we make through memberships usually goes straight back into the content. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. Trey Lance was captain of the North Dakota State Bison, standing at 6'4" and 226 pounds. Why is a possible first-round draft pick, even perhaps a top 10 pick, not on the roster of a Power 5 conference? While serving as his high school quarterback in Marshall, Minnesota, a small town of not even 14,000, he was considered a late bloomer who graduated young and wasn't anywhere near the 6'4" height he stands at today. In fact, at a 2017 Elite 11 regional quarterback camp, one of a dozen or so Elite 11 regionals in major markets all over the country that was held in the Chicago Bears Palace Hall, Lance left the event feeling more than just undersized. He left feeling that he wasn't even noticed. He lost reps to quarterbacks who cut in front of him in line for extra throws, but kept himself honest in his reps. Later, Trey would find out that some Elite 11 coaches not only don't mind the skippers, but rather it's the only way they identify who the alphas are within the group. Lance threw around 20 to 30 balls in live reps, more than a few campers, but fewer than most. He thought they were good enough, but other adults in the room did not. What a story if Lance was to return to Hallis Hall in a Bears uniform someday. By Lance's senior year, there was a Big Ten school, Iowa, that recruited him, not heavily at all, and as a linebacker, not a quarterback, and another that called him about a possible quarterback spot, probably predicting that he may fill out a bit, but mostly his phone remained silent. His senior year, he scored 17 touchdowns and only threw more than 20 times in a game once, as the Marshall High offense was more into running the ball, and each game was basically over at halftime with the ball given to an underclassman to run out the clock. Trey was a 3-star prospect and the 49th best dual threat quarterback out of the 2018 recruiting class, but had thin arms and an underdeveloped overall physique. His high school on-field production did draw interest from Boise State in Northern Illinois, but he ultimately chose North Dakota State, which was a powerhouse, but not in the BCS. After a redshirt season where he developed physically and mentally, Trey Lance put on his gold and green uniform with his tattooed biceps displaying more than a metaphorically chip on his shoulder. He was more determined than ever to make a name for himself on the football field. Now, after evolving quickly and posting a 17-0 collegiate career record behind him, but still only 20 years old, Lance is considered a true dual-threat quarterback with a strong throwing arm, powerful moves, and a quick step. Trey Lance, now scribbled frequently in scouts' notes, has been coined as intriguing, raw, but perhaps quick to advanced development. Some have even compared him to Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, as we all know, a former small school guy who can throw the football a mile, but was also extremely raw when he was coming out of college. North Dakota State University is part of the Missouri Valley Conference, a conference typically known more for outstanding collegiate basketball play than football. In fact, some teams don't even have proper field lights so they can play night games. However, North Dakota State is the anomaly in their conference, as they have hosted ESPN's Collegiate Game Day in the past. They also have alumni sprinkled within rosters and have a very rich football winning tradition. This summer, Trey Lance's expose of the fall highlight reel he was expected to display was dampened as the Missouri Valley Conference canceled their entire 2020 football season due to the COVID pandemic and replaced it with one singular showcase game, a matchup against North Dakota State and Arkansas Central, which was displayed on October 3rd. The game had a spotlight focused in one specific intriguing prospect. Yes, you guessed it, the North Dakota State quarterback we have mentioned, named Trey Lance. NFL scouts had one game this fall to determine if the quarterback would be fit for their NFL roster, and they showed up to critique, more than 24 strong from over 20 teams. However, Trey Lance was already on everyone's radar well before this October. There was more buzz around him than local meteorologists predicting the North Dakota winter forecast, as leading into this fall, he had thrown 307 straight passes and 16 career starts without a single interception. That included 28 touchdown passes last season before an interception during the recent October 3rd game ended his streak, but didn't end his NFL stardom hopes at all. His 2 touchdown passes and 2 running touchdowns earlier this month included a 21-point fourth quarter rally to beat Central Arkansas 39-28 on October 3rd. Faced with a 3rd and 4 with around 3 minutes remaining in the game, Trey Lance drove a deep out and the throw was as good as it could have been, securing the win for the Bison and a mic drop for Lance. North Dakota State will take part in the Missouri Valley Football Conference spring season that will run right up to 2 days before the NFL draft, meaning the Bison will attempt to extend their winning streak that now stands at 38, the longest in FCS history, and hope to continue their home winning streak that is now at 29 games, the longest active run in Division I football. However, they will do it with a different quarterback, as Trey Lance, following the lone showcase game, declared for the draft and will spend the spring working on his combine skills, not leading his collegiate team on the field. Trey Lance was last season's Walter Payton Award winner, tossing 28 touchdown passes with no picks and 287 attempts, which was an all-divisions record, and was predicted to put up a repeat performance even if it is a non-traditional manner. However, Lance will forego his 2+ seasons left of collegiate eligibility and hedge his bets on the 68 quarters he has already played in college. Trey Lance's resume highlights are his 2,786 total career yards in passing and 1,100 yards in rushing, and school records of 3,886 yards of total offense and a 180.6 passer efficiency rating. Those who have spent time on the field in Fargo with Lance on championship teams are complimentary of his play and what he brings to the table. Trey's really raw, and he has a lot of raw potential, says former North Dakota State wideout Jimmy Kuperos, who caught 30 passes last season. I definitely think he could be even more than he even is right now, and that's a scary thing. thing. I know he's working every day and there's potential, and his athletic ability can continue to skyrocket even more. North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz, in his second year at head coach after spending 5 seasons as defensive coordinator, downplays the first round draft buzz and the comparisons of Trey Lance to Carson Wentz, probably more due to the fact that he is going through the realization that he has lost his star quarterback to the NFL draft this April. Entz told NFL.com just before the Central Arkansas game, "I am uneasy with the draft hype because I think it's a little bit unfair right now to put the pressure of being a first round guy on a 20-year-old. And when it started, he was really 19, Entz said. It's great for our brand, but I'm more worried about Trey as a person because that is a lot to handle for a kid that age who's only started 16 games. NFL draft experts say that Trey Lance is ready for the NFL as he is projected as the 3rd best quarterback available for the 2021 NFL draft behind Clemson's Trevor Lawrence and Ohio State's Justin Fields. According to ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay, they predict him in the top 10 of the entire NFL draft as well. Far from his last visit to an NFL practice facility, when he visited Hallis Hall as a scrawny high schooler, Lance is strong, accurate at all levels, and mechanically he's fantastic. Similarly to Patrick Mahomes, Lance has proved in a small sample size that he can make every throw in the book. With all these compliments, there are still things that Lance will need to overcome. There are conversations that Lance must modernize the mental aspect of his game to reach his NFL potential. I mean, his opponents in college were never the best of the best. He has to prove that he is durable enough to carry the weight of a high-volume passer and that errors are more of a product of the environment that once surrounded him and not his on-field leadership skills. Everyone will be watching if Trey Lance will be a boom or bust, as he will get a phone call in late April, but it is still to be determined how early that call will be made. Perhaps NFL front offices have confidence that Lance can quickly match his mind game to his physical prowess in order to break the mold of what typically is a first-round draft pick. With his declaration of his readiness for the next level, Trey Lance better work on getting a new suit for downtown Cleveland this April, as more than likely the cameras will be focused on him. If you guys enjoy this content, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications, and also comment down below what other draft prospect would you like us to do an in-depth analysis on. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.